Hi, lovely to have you here. Welcome to the Electro Revolution channel. My name is Michael and I'm a car and tech enthusiast. In this episode, we're going to go through a couple of cars. But before I start there, this is episode 4, a continuation of a visit that we made for a couple of days to the Sydney EV Motor Show, which occurred between the 31st of October and the 2nd of November. Now, they had a bunch of cars there, a lot of cars, but we obviously couldn't go through every single car because it takes way too long. But what we did is we went through the priority cars, the things that would interest our viewers and us overall. So the first episode, we went through basically a bunch of sports cars and hypercars. In the second episode, the Omoda 9, we went through and reviewed that. In the third episode, we had the Zeekr 7X and the Xpeng or Xpeng G9. And in this one, we're looking at the Zeekr 009 and we're taking a test drive, which was the first day of the test drive of a Leapmotor C10. Now you may wonder why there's a Zeekr 7X and a Zeekr 009. Now overseas, the 7X is actually called the Zeekr 007. So the 009 is obviously a continuation of that naming system, but in Australia they call it the 7X. Not sure why, but they do. Nevertheless, in this episode we'll look at the 009 and we'll look at the Leapmotor C10 as a test drive. So I hope you enjoy this episode. So what we're in now is the Zeekr 009. I'm in the driver's seat, right-hand drive, so it's for the Australian market. As we can see there, you've got the instrument display, you've got the center console, you've got a really big front dash. That's quite large, and the side here.
Impressive.
Hard plastic, very nice. You've got the gear shift stick here. And the press of the button here opens both. And right on the top there, we can see it's got a small sunroof with a sunshade
For the drive.
just down here. And of course, there'll be the controls here for the sunroof and sunshade.
There is enough leg room for the passenger. Impressive car, this.
Yeah, so what we see here is actually quite different from other vehicles I've seen. If you just look here, see here? This actually has a grain on it, and it's there ambient lighting to give quite a good feel for the car and the people in the back seats. Now, I can see here on the seats, these are actually recliners. Now,
That
I'm
is
sure,
impressive feature.
yeah, I'm sure there's controls here for it,
Yeah.
if I can find which ones they are.
So the same controls that are on the side, the ones that are displayed here. So you can recline it, you can move it forward, however far back you want it to be. That is impressive to me. I would love to go on a road trip in that one.
Okay, it's got a massage feature. I
It
can tell
does
that
have a
straight away.
massage feature.
Yes, I can tell that straight away. It's all
Wow.
through these. Yeah, I can feel it. It's still going. It's got these rollers on my back.
All right, you'll never find me in the driver's seat in this car. I would rather be a
Okay.
passenger.
There I found the recliner facility. Of course, you would have to move this seat backwards somehow. You would have to get used to the actual controls.
That is impressive.
And now we move to this, which is if you've got a family in the back, that is such a huge drop screen from the ceiling. It's quite fantastic if you're looking at watching Netflix or watching movies or keeping the kids entertained, especially on long drives.
Yep.
And in the back area here, we see a huge sunroof with the sunshade here. So this is likely controlled from somewhere. Ah, that's the screen.
It's impressive.
It is impressive. It's a vehicle.
Look at this ambient lighting again.
Yeah.
Just giving you that cool, relaxing mode while you drive, especially at night. You just see all these lights instantly. You just feel relaxed in this vehicle. Nice leather trim with perforated seats, front and back. Again, giving the indication that the ventilation or heated seats. So I am really impressed. Look at these cool cup holders right here. Wow.
And just take a look at that area there. Likely when the door is closed, it's got some LED displays. It's quite an impressive vehicle.
Wow. Yes, and 2 back seats right there. Impressive.
And now what we see is with the door actually closed, that's the lit up display or the LED display on the inside of the door. Quite impressive overall. Looking at the back of the Leapmotor C10, we can see there it has like a Knight Rider left and right LED. Quite interesting.
Kit.
Yeah, the car's name was Kit in Knight Rider, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But this is the car we'll likely be test driving once this gentleman finishes.
And this is the top of the range. How much did you say it was going for drive away?
45,
45.
I think. Yeah.
Drive away, it's a BV.
Yeah, full battery electric. It's quite a good price for this vehicle.
Yeah.
Hopefully it is a nice drive.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're looking at here is the test drive of the Leapmotor C10. Now this version is the full battery EV version that we're taking for a test drive. We've been given a quick rundown of the vehicle, but I'll quickly go through it again. What I see here straight away when I sit down in the vehicle is an instrument cluster. I love these types of things, instrument clusters. What you'll find in many electric vehicles these days is they get rid of the instrument cluster and just keep the center console. The minimalistic approach, which I technically don't like, but I like an instrument cluster or a heads-up display. At least if you get rid of the instrument cluster, you can put up the heads-up display. Nevertheless, this is something I actually like. The center console looks quite good. What we're looking at here is a 360-degree mode, and you can switch left, front, right, and rear. And yeah, the seating is quite comfortable. It's got a perforated soft feel to it. So I'm guessing it could have either ventilated seats or heated seats. I'd have to look at the specs to verify that. I can see here the camera, and that will likely detect if my eyes aren't on the road or I yawn or I'm asleep. This is for a higher NCAP rating. We see here a nice big mirror with an automatic light, manual rear adjustment on the rear mirror. And yeah, if we look at the steering wheel, it's actually quite soft touch. It's great. Now we've got the left and right blinker on the left stalk, and the way to change the gears is on the right stalk. We can see here it's in park mode at the moment. If I press it one down, it goes to neutral. If I press it really like a double down, it'll go to drive. If I press double up, it'll go to reverse. If I want to park it, I press this button right on the top and it'll park the vehicle. And as you can see, the center console reacts to each of the gear mode changes. So the other thing I would say about this vehicle is the ambient lighting. This is quite important, I guess, especially when you've got music on. A lot of these vehicles now go with the beat of the music, and likely you can change the color of these ambient lighting within the interior of the vehicle from the center console. So I guess that's a general overview of this vehicle. The steering is quite minimalistic. Like on this left side, this is how you can adjust the side mirrors This is the right side mirror adjustment. This one here is the left side mirror adjustment. And I'm sure there's different controls here for volumes and things like that. So that's the general overview of the vehicle. I won't go into too many specifics on the center console, but we'll now take it for a drive. Okay, so interestingly enough, I've got a sea lion behind me, but that's a BYD sea lion. But okay, so now what we're doing is we're driving. Now I do notice straight away, because I'm running at 27 kilometers an hour, I'm guessing under 40, there's quite a noise coming from the speaker under the hood. I'm guessing if I travel over 40, that noise will stop, but that's essentially a safety feature given on a lot of these vehicles for pedestrians, the people around, that so they can recognize when there's actually an electric vehicle that's moving. But it is actually quite loud. But the gentleman inside, before the test drive, he'd informed me that there is an OTA update, the latest one, which hasn't been applied to this particular vehicle. It was applied to the hybrids, but not this particular one. When we return this, he said he'll actually apply the OTA update. But what that OTA update will do is essentially lower the volume on that. It includes a lot more other fixes, but that'll be the one I'll notice straight away, because it's quite a high volume when you actually drive it. Now, what I did notice straight away is similar to other cars I've experienced. When I take my foot off the brake, which I have now, it stays in auto park mode, which as soon as the lights turn green, I'm sure I'll hit the accelerator and it will remove the auto park mode, and I'll accelerate. That's quite good. I use that feature a lot, and I like that feature in electric vehicles. Okay, and he also said with the OTA update, I don't know what he's beeping at me for, but he also said with the OTA update, it actually removes a lot of those bings and bongs, which, again, this is for the NCAP ratings. They are actually more stringent now on the NCAP ratings to get a rating 5. That's NCAP Australia. Okay, the blinker, sorry, is this side. So it's a European blinker stalk. I remember these from the days of driving BMWs and Audis. So that, I would say, that noise has to be fixed. It is quite annoying because you do kind of travel slow a lot, especially when you're driving in the city. And it'll be actually a nice feature to actually reduce the noise of that, or the sound volume. Now, I'm not sure of this particular vehicle, what its torque setting is, or what its 0 to 100 setting is. I'd be interested to find out, but I will put it up on the screen once I research it. But so far, it's quite a comfortable ride. I would say you can feel the bumps as you drive on the road, and there's, in our Sydney city streets especially, you always find the potholes and the lids and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you do actually feel it within the internal of the cabin. But I would say it's still quite a comfortable drive. It's quite soft on the suspension.
How's the steering wheel? The
steering is actually very, very good. It's very light.
Does it have a setting as in soft or hard or medium, or it's just?
Yeah, we'd have to look at the tech specs of the vehicle to find out if it's actually got different settings for the steering wheel.
It is a good feel though.
Yeah, it's quite a good feel. Like, when I buy a new vehicle, I never leave it with the standard leather steering on the steering wheel. I always buy a steering cover, and that's essentially because my wife drives with rings, and when she's of course turning the steering of the vehicle, you can damage the leather. You could scratch it easily with rings. So I always get a leather cover for every vehicle I buy, and you would get the protective covers for each of these. Like the instrument display, I'd have a protective cover on it, and also the center console, a protective cover. And maybe some minor accessories for under the console. If there's not a rubber mat, I would get a rubber mat to stop the non-slip. And that's quite a deep center. So I would likely get a third-party shelving system in there, so I could have the deep pocket there, and I could have things I could put my key fob and things like that in there. So the air conditioning, I would say, is quite good. It's quite cold, and that's actually very good. I'm set it to 20 degrees, and this is actually the temperature I would expect on a 20 degree, and it's quite silent, even though I've got this on a higher setting. And I can feel as soon as, I don't know if this has got a dynamic mode, an eco mode, or a sports mode, but I can feel when I press the accelerator, it's actually quite responsive. That's quite good. I think if I had an opportunity to drive this on a racetrack, then yeah, I think it would be quite good for its 0 to 100. But again, I'll look at the tech specs and I'll put that up on the screen.
What does turn right here think?
Oh, again. Right, this one.
Yeah.
You gotta get used to it. Okay, now that's one of the nice things also. I like that click, click, click. I remember when I bought the BYDs, they default them to the BYD Ocean theme, which was quite annoying actually, because you do a blinker and it would give you swishing sounds of waves and things like that. The first thing I did was go into the console and disable that default feature. I don't know if the newer OTA updates undefaulted that feature, but that was immediately the thing that I removed. So a quiet, soft blinker beep is quite nice. And it's reminiscent of older vehicles, which, if you're a long time driver, it's something you would be accustomed to. And of course here, if you look on the top here, this one doesn't have a sunroof, but that's okay. It does have a sunshade. One button tap, and what we see there is the sky. And it's quite clear.
That is impressive.
I'd be interested to know if it's got a silver film in there, because under the Australian sun, it can get quite hot. And I remember the Teslas, when they were first released into Australia, they didn't have the silver film, and that meant more battery usage to keep the cabin cooler because of the sun coming into the vehicle. So I would say, yeah, so far so good. I'm not sure why it's beeping there. Maybe
you've gone over. You've gone over the 40.
It's got street sign recognition, which is a fantastic feature. And I definitely don't want to be caught speeding, because in New South Wales, you really don't have that many points if you start to lose them. As we can see here, the navigation is quite clear. You would have to, in these types of scenarios, you would actually have to really take your time to go through this console system and learn it. But straight away I can see a fuel station there, or a petrol pump, and that would show me where charging stations are around the city and where I'm located.
Yeah.
What I do like also about this vehicle is the hood. From my point of view, I can see the front of the road without too much of the hood being shown. And if you look at other vehicles like the older Mazdas, and if you like Jaguars, you'll find they've got a really long nose and they take up a lot of your view of the road. So this one doesn't have that problem.
So that was the end of episode 4. I really hope you found value in this episode. Now, you would know that in the C10, it was before the OTA update that the product manager performed later. So in episode 5, we actually go through again, which was another day. We went through and booked another test drive, and we test drove it again. So it is a big difference. Nevertheless, I'll leave that for the 5th episode. For now, I really hope you found value in this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this content with someone who'd be interested, or just leave a comment. It really all helps. Until the next episode, I hope to see you there. Bye for now.